Alrighty, what is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel for another weekly update. Hope everybody had a lovely week. And with that being said, let's dive into the TA. Alright guys, we're going to kick it off here with the indices. We're going to go over the Mag 7 stocks, and then I have a few trade ideas at the end of the video just for you. Alright. Start off with SPY, guys. We're going to start off with the weekly time frame. I am going to point out we had increasing volume on the week. The last 2 weeks we have had increasing volume, although we have gone absolutely nowhere. We did close out with the bullish engulfing candlestick this week, and I'm just going to say it's not exactly the most bearish thing we're seeing right now here on the weekly time frame. Daily chart looks a little iffy, but at the end of the day, we're still just kind of in this, box range going on here. And, if I had to take a guess, we're going to be seeing new highs. Just to come back over here, the weekly chart, I'm going to point out, made the new highs, put in a doji candle, you have a hammer candle. Made the new highs, put in a doji candle, you have a hammer candle. You continue going up the next 2 weeks afterward. Made the new highs, put in a doji candle, put in the hammer candle, made the new highs the next 2 weeks, and then you trade a little sideways after that. So it doesn't mean volatility is not going to step back into the equation. But I do think we're going to be going a little bit higher. I know. Everybody wants to be pulling back. We want to sell. I don't think that's going to happen just yet. I'm going to point out how the Mag 7 stocks are set up going into next week, and I don't think it's the worst look on them. But yeah, that's how we look over here on SPY's weekly time frame. QQ actually has that same exact look to it, where you made the new highs, we consolidated, now we're pushing up. We are advancing out of that consolidation. I imagine we're just going to kind of keep grinding higher. I don't think it's going to be anything drastic. Maybe we do have a massive rug pull around the corner. We've had a crap ton of puts loaded. We have still a ton of 815 IWM puts, August IWM puts coming in. Just continuously last week, this week, and if we just look at where IWM is, the thing has not moved. All right, so all those guys, or one big guy, we don't know, they're betting on this bad boy to break down, which I'm not going to say this looks the best, but I'm not going to say it looks bearish. You're in consolidation going on right now. You got that same box range going on that I was pointing out on SPY and QQQ. You're just not at all-time highs, but it doesn't necessarily look the worst over here. And then when you come over here to DIA, it also doesn't look the worst. You're just consolidating above the daily 21. If we were to lose that, you take out 438.70, then we got something to talk about on the downside. Then we're coming back down towards 430, but it's not the case. All right, everything's kind of just consolidating right around the daily 21 EMA, SPY, QQ, IWM, DIA. They all pulled back to the mean and they popped back up. It's not the worst look. And if you just come down to the 4-hour chart, you'll see, boom, we found buyers here where you broke out from 626.28, and they're stepping in here. It looks like on the 4-hour chart here, like this thing wants to head back up to new highs. So do not hold that bearish bias. You can if you want, but I don't think it's the best idea, considering the trend is going to be your friend until the end, and it is not the end yet. All right, we kind of had the exact same thing go on over here, and what happened? We popped up to new high and just kept going. It can still happen. It's not out of the picture yet. Now, I did point out last week over here on VIX, all right, guys, if we start coming down to the low of this range going on over here, it's probably going to be bouncing. If we just look back at what happens when, VIX kind of just holds a floor, all right, for a few weeks, and you just have these, 4 back-to-back red weeks, but the floor is all the same on all of them. It's kind of what we got going on in all of these. And what happens is VIX ends up getting a spike before it comes down and makes that new leg down. It can look at all these red weeks, but notice how we're not holding the same floor in any of them. You're just continually making new lows over there. Well, when you hold the floor, all right, VIX tends to not go much lower, and then it spikes before it ends up, slowly grinding lower. We could just go back. There's countless examples of this, and I think that's probably what we have right now, where VIX has a floor in it, and anytime you come down to the low of the range, you're going to have a little, VIX spike going on here. You're going to get a little bounce, which is just going to bring volatility on the indices. You're going to get a pullback on the indices in the broad market. But with how I'm going to show you guys how these Mag 7 stocks are, set up right now, and what I just showed you on the weekly charts there, yeah, my bias is going to remain to the upside. I think yours should too. You know, I could be completely wrong, but again, trend, it's up. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You're just consolidating. You know, we see the monthly candle right here. It's a little baby monthly candle, honestly. You know, it can stay small, but I won't be surprised if that extends through the highs. All right, so we're back over here at SPY's weekly time frame. Let's go over the levels we're going to be paying attention to. On the upside, guys, you have 627.86 and then pop above Friday's high at 629.47. We got that 630 level, that 630 cycle level right above there, and then 632, 635. On the downside, you have 626.28, and then if you lose 625.16, I think we're probably coming down and revisiting these lows over here. We're going to take out 621.53 and revisit 617.87. That would be the likely scenario if we took out 625.16. All right, and then underneath 617.87, we have previous all-time high at 613.23. That is SPY coming over here to QQQ. All right, on the upside, I know the high over here on TradingView, it says 564.73. It wasn't 564.73. If we just come over here, we will see. This was actually the high of day right here. This happened in pre-market. All right, and that high was also only 563.80. So I don't know where TradingView is getting its numbers from, but I got the real numbers. All right, so on the upside, you're watching Friday's high at 563.32. Above there, we're talking 565 and then 570. On the downside, we have 560.80 and then 557.20. If we lose 557.20, it's going to look like we're coming back down to target these lows, 551.56, and then under there we have 544.66, 540.81, 536.78, and 532.17. No, I do not think we're getting all the way back down there. We don't even need these on a chart, honestly. We'll take those off. 540.81 is the previous all-time high. We'll take it as we go, but you know, if we come back to that level, it's probably something that will be respected. But again, you got that weekly consolidation going on. You got increasing volume on this little breakout candle we had this week. We're probably going to hit it with another upside week. And at minimum, we're probably not going anywhere because of what I pointed out over on VIX. We're going to keep making these new highs. Boom, volatility spikes. Price pulls back over here. And then boom, as volatility winds down, prices drift a little higher. It's exactly why we, drift higher, pull back, drift higher, pull back, drift higher, pull back. It's because of what I pointed out on VIX. So just limit your expectations there. I got a bunch of individual tickers that are showing, signs of having big breakouts, big moves, big money to be made over there. You don't have to be focusing on the broad market all the time, all right? We have individual ticker setups that I give to you guys every single video. At the end of the video, if you're just patient enough with me to wait till the end of the video, I got a bunch for you, and I think you're going to be happy with them. All right, so that's QQQ, guys. We're going to come over here to DIA. All right, on the upside, guys, above 444.87. I'm actually just going to mark out Friday's high above 445.78. We're talking 448.86, then 451.55. Come over here to IWM, guys. Take out 221.37. You're probably coming back down here to 218.41, and then you have 215.93 and 211.95. On the upside, I'm just going to say 223, 224.23, and 226.14. That was honestly going to be our target, coming into Friday. Nope, you stalled out pretty short there. 225.36 was the high. You didn't quite make it. You were 60, about 70 cents short there. Okay, so those are the indices. Let's go over the Mag 7, guys. Mag 7, number 1, Meta. We're in a nice hammer candlestick off of the gap fill over here, 699.05. Putting the floor over here for the last 3 sessions. And on the upside, guys, if you get above 708.87, good things are likely about to be happening over here on Meta. I do think this thing is going to start popping off into this week. I think this hammer candlestick here is at least going to be good for, a couple days of pop. But I would not be surprised to see this start pushing straight back up, okay? So above 708.87, you have 713.97. If the price gets above 713.97, expect 728 to be traded, all right, in the short term. And above there, above 728, you have 737.53 and then 747.90. We can look at the weekly chart here, all right? Doesn't look the best, doesn't look all that bad, though. We know, all right, since we swept this high over here, we came up, we didn't, just continue going. When you pull back after doing such a thing, all right, you don't know when the pullback's going to be bought, but it's going to be revisiting those highs with all likelihood. That's just where probabilities are going to lie. And that's where probabilities still lie over here. We have it shaping up here in the daily time frame. It might be go time coming into next week. for Mr. Meta. Coming over here to GOOG. Not the worst weekly close, not the best, but I'm just going to say this thing is probably going to be continuing to the upside. You do have earnings. Big tech earnings are kicking off this week. We have Google over here on Wednesday, and I am just going to say I think it is going to keep going a little bit higher. You have Friday's high here at 187.36. That actually the higher, that was a glitch. That is the actual high. Above 187.36, we have 188.71 and 192.61. On the downside, 185.41, 182.45. Amazon. Weekly chart is a little grindy going on over there. A little weird looking, but I'll tell you, the daily chart suggests we're probably about to pop up to a new high above 227.27 and push 228.84. I think 228.84 is likely coming early on this week. All right, so on the upside, just watch for the break above 227.27 and watch 228.84 above there, 232.22. That's where you broke down from over here. And then on the downside, 225.86, 223.72, 222.18. Don't lose 222.18. You don't want to do that. All right, bad things can happen. NVIDIA, all right? Again, you know, am I going to tell you the long thing? No. But am I going to tell you it's a short? Definitely not. It is just drifting higher into all-time highs, guys. There's nothing really to be bearish here. I will just tell you, though, we had an absolute crap ton, I mean crap ton of puts coming in over here on NVIDIA the other day. I believe they were August puts, but we had like, you know, 6 mil plus coming in. I think we had an order of 3.4 mil that came in on Friday for those. I could be wrong about the expiration. It might even be 7/25 or 7/31 expiration. We had a lot of shorter dated puts coming in on Friday. So I will just say caution over here, but you do not have earnings right around the corner on this one. If it pulls back with the broad market, it's probably going to be bought up into those earnings. But, you know, I'm just going to say, guys, no matter how this thing trades in the short term, we can all see the same weekly chart here. You just broke out here from 400 days of consolidation over year consolidation. It's breaking out here. This is, you know, week 3 of the breakout. Don't expect it to come back in here. If it pulls back into where it just broke out from at 152.89, expect that to be bought. I don't think we're going to be revisiting those levels anytime soon here. I really do not. But yeah, until it stops drifting higher, it's going to keep drifting higher, guys. It's just how it's going to trade. There's not really much to do about it. It's now turned into another Microsoft. Now, speaking of Microsoft, speaking of the devil, guys, we did pop up. We almost hit that 515 cycle level after hitting 510 the day before. All right, and now I'm just going to say weekly chart again, just like that NVIDIA thing. It's not a short, it's not a long. It's just something, you know, you could keep trading these little range breakouts. It has, you know, quite a few of them. You just keep building little ranges going on. Like every 1 to 2 weeks, you build one out, and then boom, you break up later in the week from it. So it's probably going to keep being the theme over here until it stops being the theme. And we'll point out you got this bearish diverge going on there. But yeah, on the downside, 506.78, 576, 488.70. On the upside, 514.64, 520. Tesla, guys, strong close to the week. We have earnings next week. I believe they are next Wednesday. Yeah, next Wednesday we have Tesla earnings, and you're set up ferociously going into these earnings, guys. A big move is likely coming. I am biased to the upside. Am I telling anybody to trade the upside? No, I'm not. All right, but I'll tell you, I think that's about to be the case. And if we do see this big old earnings pop up here and we end up breaking above 367.71, all in one go on it, we're probably going to $400. All-time highs probably is not too, you know, far after that, guys. We're probably going straight to all-time highs if earnings is going to give us a big breakout from this massive pennant we got going on. If we do end up breaking down, I think we're probably just going to stay range bound in this pennant for quite some time. Not Microsoft, Apple. All right, Apple over here, guys. I think it's getting ready for a big move. I think it's probably going to be making that move this week. I think the weekly cloud is about to flip back to bullish. And when that happens, you get at least a few weeks here. By that, I mean maybe, 2 to 3 months where dips are going to be buying opportunities. And, most of the time, it's not going to be like this where it takes its time. This is a big old base, though, that led to, months of breakout and months of, just a trending move up. I'm talking about this where every single week the dip is a buying opportunity. I'm talking like that where every single dip every week for the next few weeks, buying opportunity. Well, we've been correcting and consolidating for quite some time, guys. It's about ready that this thing is going to start making moves again. Above 212.40, we're probably heading up to 214.56. Above 214.56, we have 216.23, 219.38, 225.70. Those are your levels. Bullish consolidation above 28.42 is likely going to break up. All right, guys, so that is your Mag 7 stocks. Now I'm going to come into the trade ideas going into this week. Just an honorable mention here over here, guys. I'm not really going to give you a detailed plan here, but I will point out increasing volume on the week. I do still think you're heading up to 167.51. I think that might happen this week. Above 161.96, this week's high. We're talking 167.51 and then 174.05. If price pulls back, you're watching 147.75. All right, iron, you know, it's all going to depend on what Bitcoin does. It really is. Maybe it pushes back and recovers, gets over 120. Okay, by the end of the weekend here. We will see, but I do think this thing is knocking on the devil's door here. And yeah, this thing is probably getting ready for a big move. I could be wrong, and it's going to be something like this where you literally stall out here. Could be completely wrong. But I'll tell you, we have a bull flag present over here. We started breaking out on Friday, and then boom, you broke down after that. But you did get buyers coming in into the close, and it does look like they want to still take you higher. You found buyers right there at the 0.618 fib. So, you know, I think a big move might be coming over here on iron, and it could start up next week. All right, so that is iron. Next one we're going to be talking about is QBTS, guys. QBTS, this is queuing up for a big move. Big breakout above 1977. Get above there. We're talking 22 and then 25 in the short term. Had a consolidation day here on Friday, but I think it's only a matter of time, maybe next week, that we break above 1977 and get that big move. All right, one to go with that theme over here. It's going to be QUBT. All right, QUBT, guys, pretty much same thing going on here. You got this tight little, you know, consolidation going on. If this could pop above 21.74, it likely pushes 27.15 and then gets a larger move. Above there, you just have all-time highs up here at 39.60. I'm not saying you go all the way there, but definitely getting ready for a big move. Now, something else in that theme, it's going to be IonQ. I also think IonQ is getting ready for a big move over here. It might have started on Friday here, but if you get above 48.92, that is when this thing is probably going to push straight up to all-time highs, 54.74 incoming, and then I imagine 60 to 70 comes pretty quick. But this has been known to rip when it goes. Hasn't gone in quite some time. It's been consolidating, and I think it's probably about to start moving. All right, moving on over here, we got BBAI. All right, I know it doesn't look crazy on the daily time frame, but just look at how it's set up on the weekly. Above 872, probably coming up to 1036, and then we're talking 15 plus. All-time highs of 1612. Can happen. It's on the table. Tossed. All right, Tossed is one that, you know, I put on your radar before it broke out. We were watching it. Now it's broken out, and I'm just going to say, daily chart doesn't look all that appealing. But what about the weekly? Oh, the weekly. Nah, you got your breakout this week. Above 45.56. We got our weekly close, guys. I'm talking above 47.50. We're going to 50 bucks. All right. And then 52. That's my target over here for Tossed. But I do think we're probably going to hit it with the 1-2 and get another green candlestick falling last week's breakout this week. Down is getting ready for a monster move, in my personal opinion. The weekly clouds start flipping back to bullish. You've been getting really tight around these moving averages, guys. That's exactly what happens before a big move starts up above 1342. We're talking 1535 and then 1765. I think this move comes real quick. Once it happens, it can happen next week with how that weekly chart is set up. Guys, what do I tell you? Why is the thing going to go so close to taking out this high to not take out the high? It's going to take out the high. Get above 1342. This thing is going to start ripping. And I'm telling you, this thing could have some nice 10 to 20% days. And yeah, you know, let's just say it wants to do off Monday. Probably not going to do off Monday, to be honest. 20% brings you right up to 1535. That is going to be your target number one up there. All right, so that was sound. Next one we're talking is going to be Oklo. Oklo, guys, do you see what I see? I hope you do. You got to go above the 0.786 on Friday. That's what I say. Okay, that's what I was thinking to you about. I know I serenaded you. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Above 69.40, guys. This bad boy is likely pushing straight up to 73.55. and then we're going 80 plus, guys. All right, monster move here this week, and I think it's just getting started. I think we're about to hit it with the 1-2. If you see a gap down to start the week like over here, it's probably something that'll be bought. Something like over here, again, probably going to be bought. I don't think you'd get something like that, considering that would take you all the way down here, and you'd have a pretty ugly look at that point. But you did have the increasing volume on the week, and through 73.55, this thing can go 80 plus, maybe 90. Get ready for the big move. I hope you guys are making money. I gave it to you on the break above 59.14. I gave it to you coming into last week, and then what happened on Monday? You broke above 59.14. That was your trigger level, and then you were targeting 62.10, 64.78, 69.40, 73.55. We're just about at 3 TPs there, and I'm just saying 73.55 coming next week. All right, another one with that theme is SMR. It's actually showing more strength than Okla over there, but a monster week over here, likely going to see dips get bought over here as well. But Okla is the focus because it really has not broken up yet. And yeah, I think big move coming over here on Okla, but SMR is going to be going with it. Next one we're talking is ASTS, another one I gave you coming into last week on the break above right here at 48.32. What happened? We broke above 48.32, and you went straight to 54.05 within 3 sessions, and all of a sudden you're almost at 60 bucks. Above 58.03, guys, we're talking 60, 62, 65. I do think another 20 to 25% week is incoming. That was the whole idea over here. If it's going to turn into a trending week, which if we broke above 48.32 is likely to turn into a trending week, then it would be above that 25% range weekly candle criteria we talked about. Well, I think that's going to be the case next week. So, you know, whether we gap up, whether we gap down, all right, we really don't know, but pullbacks are going to be buying opportunities. I think 65 is likely incoming. If this thing is going to not gap down and hit it with the 25% week, guys, we're going $70 freaking over here on ASTS, and I really don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. All right, next one we're talking is Reddit. All right, Reddit, you're consolidating for about 2 weeks here, right off the 21 EMA, right off that 142 big break and retest level right there. And we can see on the weekly time frame, you printing a hammer kind of candlestick, a pin bar candlestick off there. You're just pulling back, reverting to the mean here. You know, I think this one is getting ready for another move up. So we're going to keep watching that bad boy. And yeah, we're going to see if we start getting some moves this week. Shopify, I gave you guys it before it went, and now it's up at 129.38. Now I do think it's going to break above 129.38 this week, and we're talking 135.40 is likely incoming over here on Shop. But I did give it to you guys when it was definitely still in that consolidation here. I told you it was getting ready for a big move. I didn't know it was going to turn into this massive of a move, but I'll tell you, I put it on your radar all throughout this time period over here. I hope some of you guys made money on it. All right, because real talk, the thing freaking exploded, and it's likely going to continue going next week. All right, now we're going to talk about Bitcoin over here, guys. Bitcoin is one that I don't think it's really going to be getting all that big of a pullback here. I think it's likely going to continue consolidating and then push up through these highs. I don't know if it's going to push up through the highs over the weekend, but I'll tell you, MSTR over here has to be saved. Okay, if MSTR tests that daily 21 EMA, I'm telling you, the run that I thought, you know, would be happening, it's probably over. All right, I don't think it is. All right, I think we probably just printed a red week, just like we did, you know, over here, and you're going to come back up above those highs next week. But I'll tell you how this goes. On every one of MSTR's big runs, the second it hits the 21 EMA, all right, even if it finds buyers off it, the second it comes down and tests is the second that run is starting to be over. We don't want that run to be over. Okay, so I'm really hoping Bitcoin does make a recovery over the weekend, maybe gets 120K by Monday. All right, and then MSTR starts getting bought up, and you know, this dip is to be seen as a buying opportunity. We're right back up at the highs. But the second you take out 414.60, guys, the second you even test 414.60, the beginning of the end is here for MSTR. I'm sorry. All right, I hope you guys made some money along the way, but I don't know if the run's going to be continuing if we test 21 EMA. Along its big runs, when it tests the 21 EMA, it's the beginning of the end. You just get that little dead cat bounce. You get that one last wonder right there, one hit wonder, and then boom, you start coming back down. So you have an example right here. You have an example right here. Okay, you see this big run. Well, you didn't test it over here. You tested right here, and boom, you only had one more push up, and then it was done. All right, one more push up, and then it was done. Right over here, one more push up, and then it was done. right over here. You didn't test the whole entire time until right here. And then guess what? You pushed up and you didn't make a new high, and then it was done. All right. Like, real talk, guys. This is the criteria for the trade. And I'm sorry, but it might be about to, you know, hit that criteria where we just have to stop paying attention. Like, you know, I'm still going to be watching it, but real talk, we have to limit our expectations that this happens. It's just how it goes. It's how it trades. It's how it's going to keep going. So, you know, maybe we do end up popping back up, pop through 457.22 here, this week's high, and push 470.480 next week. But real talk, we got to hold right here. All right, so I just thought I'd bring it up, thought I'd talk about it. Coin, guys, it did end up exploding over here on Monday. You did go to 444.65. You did take out 430, and you almost went straight to 450. I told you 450 would probably be tested quick. We didn't quite get there. We were 5 points off there. My bad. But real talk, guys, I think this is one that's going to keep pushing higher here. I think we're just now at new all-time highs. If it pulls back, it's a buying opportunity. It would likely just pull back into this, you know, 370 area, and then it would probably be bought up from there. Okay, so that is Coinbase. But again, as far as crypto stocks go, the one that's standing out to me is going to be over here on IREN. This thing is consolidating right here at a key spot. You cannot get your daily close above there. All right, the second we get a daily close above 1797, this thing is probably going to start going. All right, but better yet, let's get a daily close above 1854. Let's talk 2022 after that. Okay, that is IREN. All right, guys, so that is the bulk of what I have for you guys today. I'm just going to point out some names, some honorable mentions here. SMCI, guys, you did get the weekly close above 5061. I'm not going to say it looks all too appealing here on the daily time frame, but you still have not even seen the daily RSI get overbought. I think you might be about to start a big pop this week. I think the monthly candle is probably going to expand. You know, this is your breakout candle. You expect this to not be a baby candle like this. You expect it to, you know, get some expansion. We only have 2 weeks left, you know, 1.5 weeks left in the month. I think we are likely going to be expanding that monthly candle. And the weekly time frame, we finally just got a weekly close above 5061 after rejecting the last 3 weeks from that spot. I do think a bigger move might start up here above 54.30. We get above 54.30. We're talking 56.19, 60, and then 67.10. That's SMCI. Lemonade, guys, I like what's going on here on the weekly. It looks like it wants to pop, or it's going to continue consolidating here and then pop. Regardless, we're going to keep it on the radar because I think a big move back up to the highs, 53.85, is loading. All right, if you do see it pop above 48, you know, I'm actually just going to take off the level. We're going to mark out this high over here. If you see it pop above 47.25, it's likely go time over here on Lemonade, LMND. CCL, all right? This thing wants to keep going. Above 28.72, 31.52 is that next spot. Above there, it gets a big move up to 39.92. It doesn't have to happen all at once, but this ticker has been a monster, so maybe it only takes a few weeks. We'll see. Get above this week's high, 30.46. We're talking 31.52, and then again, nothing until about $40. It looks like it wants to take out that high next week, and it's probably going to get a continuation candlestick. Okay, all right. Last one, Roblox. I know you guys don't want to hear it. Okay, the thing is, you know, way up. Henry, why are you telling us to buy this thing? I'm not telling you to buy this thing. Let's get that straight. I'm telling you, dips are going to be buying opportunities over here. Like they're just going to keep getting bought up. When I say dips are buying opportunities, I mean the dip is going to be bought. You know, that's where the probabilities lie. That's what's, you know, going to happen 99% of the time. Is the market's going to do what's most obvious. We're going to say 95% of the time. And I'm just going to tell you, I know it looks pretty crazy over here, but it's probably just going to continue building out these low ranges and then continue to break up from them until you're at new all-time highs. At this point, you're only 15 points away from all-time highs, 141.60, and I think it's very likely going to be hit. Maybe this month, if not this month, next month. So we're going to see if we build out another range to go off of, because I'm really salty. I missed this trade right here and called it out for you guys. It was just so obvious. It's just scared to long these things into highs when they've had absolute no pullbacks. It's like trying to play Microsoft over here. You know, yes, the thing keeps going up, and you're like, oh, it must be so easy to make money on calls. No, it's got this slow, grindy action. You really just have to catch these ranges and then catch the breakouts of them, so your premiums will end up pumping, so you don't, you know, fall victim into that slow, grindy action like that. And that's what happened, you know, last week, guys. We had a monster move out of that range break on Monday. I think we're probably going to build something out, and yeah, we'll talk about it when it happens. All right, guys, that's what I have for you guys this video. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, just please remember to leave a like. There's nothing that will grow this channel better than you guys just leaving a like, showing the YouTube algorithm that, hey, all right, there's quality stuff in the video. More people should watch this video. All right, so I really do just greatly appreciate if you guys would just leave a like. That is the only thing I ask for. Other than that, if you want to come trade with me, I'm live every day. That link will be down below. And with that being said, guys, I hope everybody has a lovely rest of their weekend, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.